Right, we're going to be looking at questions where we're going to solve quadratics of this form, which require rearrangement and factorising. So we're going to rearrange this and factorise it. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to solve something a little bit easier. So let's do ax² plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And what we do to factorise this is we look at numbers that times together to give me 6 and add to give me the 5. And if you don't know this method, it's going to be really tricky for you to understand this method. So let's find two numbers that times together to give me 6. So I could have 1 and 6, or I could have 2 and 3. I could have -2 and -3, and I could have -1 and -6. Now, which of these can combine to give me +5? Well, I could if I could take these away, but only one of them, both of them are positive, and not either of them are negative. So therefore, there's no way to combine them to give me 5. But if I add these two together, I get myself 5. Okay, this one will give me -5, and this will give me -7. So this is going to be my option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my double brackets out. To get the x², I need x times x. And remember, these two numbers must time to give me 6. So I need the 2 and the 3 here. So I want to do 3 times 2 to give me the 6. And what I'll find is that 2 times x plus 3 times x will give me the 5x. Let's just do FOIL just to see that in action. The FOIL means first two things times together, which is the x². Then the outer two things times together, which is 3x. Then the inner two things times together, which gives me 2x. And the last two things times together gives me the 6. Right, so having done that, then I realise I've got one number times another number must equal 0. So I've either got x plus 2 equals 0, or I've got x plus 3 equals 0. Let's just see that highlighted. So I've got this number, and I've got this number. Remember, x plus 3 will be a number, and x plus 2 will be a number. So the yellow number times the green number must equal 0, which means either the yellow number or the green number must equal 0. Either the yellow number equals 0, or the green number equals 0. And you can see that x equals -2, x equals -3 gives me the solutions to this question. Okay, so let's go on to look at the other one and rub out all this working. So on this one, the first thing we need to do is get everything onto the same side equaling 0. Then we can use our factorisation method to do this question. So we get 6y² plus y. So we get 6y². Take the y away from both sides, I get -y. Take the 1 away from both sides, I get -1. And obviously on this side, because I've taken the y and the 1 off, I'm left with 0 on this side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to times these two numbers together to get myself -6. Okay. And I'm going to have, how many lots of y have I got here is going to give me -1. Okay, so I'm looking at these two numbers times together to give me -6. And I'm looking at how many lots of the y I've got is -1. And what I then need to find is two numbers that times together to give me this and add to give me this. Now, hopefully you can see straight away -3 and 2 are the two numbers. I could have considered all these pairs of numbers, but obviously none of them will combine to give me the -1 that I need. This will give me +1, this will give me -5, and this will give me 5. So this is the pair that I'm going to consider. I'm not going to consider any of the others. And what I do is I split this y up using the -3 and the 2. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to just, it doesn't matter what order you do it, I'm going to do both together so you can see them both happening at the same time. So I'm going to have 6y². I'm going to write this as -3y plus the 2y. And you can see that gives me the -y I need when you combine these. -1 equals 0. And I'm going to do it the other way around just to show that it doesn't matter which way round you do them. So 6y² plus 2y minus 3y minus 1 equals 0. And then what I do is I split this into two. So you've got the y² and the first y, and the y² and the first y as one thing I'm going to factorize. And then the second y and the number and the second y and the number is the second thing I'm going to factorize. So I factorize this, and I can see that 3y times by 2y will give me 6y², and 3y times -1 will give me the minus 3y. So this is the biggest factor I can take out of this and factorize this. Now here, I can't take out anything more than 1. Okay, take out 1 as a factor. All right, there's nothing that goes into both of these other than 1. And over here, my biggest factor here is 2y, and I'm left with 3y here, and I'm left with a plus 1 here. So times this out, I get 6y squared, times this out, I get 2y, just to check I made it right. And then the only thing I can take out here is minus 1 times by 3y times by plus 1. And what you'll notice is I have a common factor here that I can take out. So I'm going to take out my 2y minus 1. And that leaves me here 3y and plus 1. So 2y minus 1 times 3y will give me this. 2y minus 1 times plus 1 will give me this. Same over here. I'm going to now notice I've got this as a common factor, so I'm going to take that out. Okay, so the 3y plus 1. And I'm left here with the 2y and the minus 1. And what you will see is I've got the 3y plus 1 in both. And I've got the 2y minus 1 in both. And so whichever way I do this splitting up, I get exactly the same answer. And now I can just go on and solve. It doesn't matter which one I use. So I'm just going to solve this. So either 2y minus 1 will equal 0 or 3y plus 1 will equal 0. There's two numbers. You've got a yellow number and a green number times together to give me 0. Either the yellow number equals 0 or the green number equals 0. And therefore, I can solve this. I'm not going to do all the solving. I'm just going to write the answer down. I get y equals a half. If you could do quadratics, you can solve linear equations. And y equals minus a third. And similarly over here. Now, if you can't remember this method, which relies on you to remember that you times these two numbers together to give this number, that number gives you that number. We look at things that times together to give me this number. That must add to give me this number. And then we split the y's up using these two numbers. If you can't do that and you're stuck in the exam, what you can do is you can use a little bit of trial and error and do it this way. So let's just have a look to one side. So we've got this thing and we've got two things. Now, normally I'd say, look at the y squares because normally they give you something a bit simpler. So like 3y squared, the only way we can get two things to times together give you that is 3y and y. And you always split up the y squared. But here we've got 6y squared, so there's many more options, but there's not many options for minus 1. You can have minus 1 and 1, and that's it. So those are easy to put in. These two numbers must times together to give you that number. Always happens. No matter which factorization you do, the end two numbers in these quadratics will always times together to give you this number. And then what you can do is you can try things here. If we were to try 6y and y, because they times together to give me 6y squared, when I do my FOIL, I'm going to get a 6y times the 1, gives me 6y, and the minus 1 times the y gives me a minus y, which combine to give me 5y, and that's not what I want. So we don't try that, we try something else. See what I mean by trial and error? It's a so educated trial and error. You don't have to do it and get it wrong straight off. You can just do some things in your head as well. So we could try 3y and 2y. And then put 3y here times by 1, we get 3y. Put the 2y here, you get minus 2y. And that combines to give me plus y, but I want minus y. Oh, so I've just got them the wrong way round. So let's try again. Last try should give me the right answer. And I put the 2y here and the 3y here. 2y times 1 is 2y. 3y times minus 1 is minus 3y, which gives me the minus y that I need in the middle. Now, I'm not checking anything else. I'm not checking the 2y times 3y squared because I knew that. I knew I was going to get that. I'm not checking the minus 1 times the 1 to get the minus 1 because I knew that because I set that up at the beginning. And what you can see is we get exactly the same factorization. And then you can carry on and solve it as normal. So if you can't remember this method, you can actually use trial and error. So there you go. That's how to solve these questions. And if you want to practice more, go to drfrostmaths.com and type in case 618 and you can practice solving these equations.